So, good evening and welcome to this episode of the Philosophy of Information, where we will try to see events of our time with a more philosophical perspective. My name is Andre Meloche, and I would like to welcome our guest, Mr. Joseph McDonald. Joe, it's a pleasure to welcome you for this interview. How
Well,
are you tonight?
I'm doing well. It's a pleasure to see you again, Andre.
Good, good. Joe, I've learned about your journey and your fight, I would say, with the Nisiping, I hope I will say it right, Nisiping Perry Sound Catholic District School Board of Ontario on many spaces in X. And I was pleased to see a Canadian man expressing his faith and also Christian values to protect his children. First, I would like you to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your life, about your career, your children, and who is Joe McDonald?
Well, I'm the second of seven children. My parents were very devout Catholics. I think that's what got them through. I had an older brother that passed away and a younger brother. And I think it was their faith that got them through that, because no parent should have to bury a child. The rest of our family dealt with that. When my older brother passed away, I was 14. When my youngest brother passed away, I was 10. So definitely old enough to understand what was going on and to kind of see what my parents went through. My older brother had severe cerebral palsy, but he was always in our home. He was fed through a stomach tube. It was the most severe form of cerebral palsy. No hearing, no sight, no communication. But my parents never abandoned him. And through that, I learned to respect life through firsthand knowledge. There were nights where this child who, basically had no brain function would wake us up roaring, laughing. And through that experience, I kind of, in my own way, saw that life was extremely important, not just through my parents' religion, but had some firsthand experience. Since then, had a lot of jobs. Started as a teenager, working on farms like most of us did when we were young. Progressed to working in warehouses, factories. And in 2007, I joined the Iron Workers Union, and I've been with them to this day. I'm still there. So, construction worker by trade. Most important title is father to three beautiful children. And quite honestly, my life changed drastically when I met my wife, when I did things the right way, and when I had my children. And I really have my wife to thank for that, because before that, I was kind of a wandering spirit.
When I listen to you now, I understand more the deepness of your letter, especially with your life experience, because
Right.
we don't know you. We hear you through spaces, but I think you are in contact with life, and life rewarded you also with a beautiful wife and three children.
Yeah.
That's very, very, very. I would not say rare, but I would say it is what we expect in life. I we When we talked last week, I wanted to prepare this interview with you. You sent me the letter that you wrote to the school board, and first of all, I was very touched. It was a very beautiful letter, very well written, and we agreed that you would read this letter. And what I will do, I will display it. So take
Okay.
your time,
I need my
read
glasses.
it. Well, it's okay. It's okay. Read it, and after that we can have a discussion. I highlighted in yellow some aspect of it, but just you can read it entirely, and after that we can have a discussion about it. And I will just display it now. Just give me a second. So it is an open letter. Do you see it now?
I don't, but I do have a copy here. Just
Okay, wait. Okay, now I think you will see it.
Oh, wow, that's easy enough to read.
Okay, so go ahead, read it, and I will just scroll down as with following your text.
Okay, so it's an open letter to Catholic schools, parents, and the Catholic clergy. As a parent of 3 children currently in the Nipissing Parry Sound Catholic District School Board, I would like to ask several questions of this school board. On May 24th, 2026, 2 representatives of this school board attended Mass and spoke to the congregation. Having 3 children in this school board and having seen the curriculum, I found it outrageous that they would represent themselves as working hand in hand with both parents and the church in fostering Catholic education. This is patently and demonstrably false. In the years my children have been in this board, they have received more classroom instruction on tolerance and inclusion than the Ten Commandments, the sacraments, the Catechism of the Catholic Church, and Catholic moral and theological teaching combined. The teachings of the Catholic Church are actively subverted, and students who quote them are quickly admonished and at times shamed. When my son referred to abortion as killing babies, he was told this was unacceptable, and I was sent a note in Edsby that my son was disruptive in class. I explained the Catholic Church teaches this, and there is no ambiguity on this issue. Any support, counsel, or even driving someone to an abortion clinic is automatic excommunication. The teacher instructed me that speaking like this would never be tolerated in her class. In grade 2, the children were given an assignment called Changing Family and Community Traditions. The assignment included pictograms of Hinduism, Judaism, Islam. Conspicuously, the only possible reference to Christianity or Catholicism included no religious symbols. It merely showed a Christmas tree and a present. In many cases, it is not the curriculum itself that is objectionable. Teachers are given far too much latitude in delivering lessons that often include personal feelings and ideologies that are in direct opposition to the fundamental teachings of the Catholic Church. When teachers take it upon themselves to question Catholic doctrine on issues such as abortion, homosexuality, transgenderism, and choose to portray Christianity/Catholicism only as evil colonizers or oppressors, they do not belong in a Catholic school. Teachers in Catholic schools should, as a professional standard, treat Catholic teaching with dignity and respect, even if they do not personally agree. Otherwise, they should pursue employment in another board. NPSC, which is in Nipissing Parry's, raised a pride flag over St. Joseph's Scholar High School and produced a video declaring why pride is so important. It didn't raise the flag for the Sacred Heart of Jesus or the papal flag. No, we raised the Progress Pride flag, which celebrates both homosexuality and transgenderism. The Catholic Church teaches that every person is made in the image of God and so has innate dignity and value, from conception until natural death. Every person. The Church also teaches mercy and forgiveness, which is why we have the sacrament of confession. It teaches us to treat every person with respect because they are a child of God. The Church also teaches that homosexuality is intrinsically disordered, and that pride in itself is one of the 7 deadly sins. This is all Church teaching. We do not need to propagate a politically motivated ideology that is disordered in order to virtue signal that we love and value all people. A person is not defined by sexual orientation or inclination. If our schools propagate this falsehood, they undermine the school's actual duty to assist with the multifaceted, complex development of our youth and their growth of skill, intellect, and character. Teach the truth. Every person is a child of God and so deserve our care and respect for that reason alone. Under the false narrative of inclusion, you choose to fly an exclusive flag, a flag that certainly does not represent the majority of your students, their parents, or the Catholic Church. Instead of adopting the one flag policy like the Dufferin Peel Catholic District School Board and flying the one flag, Canadian flag, that is inclusive of all Canadian people, you chose to be divisive. Let us not pretend that a flag itself does not send a strong message. A flag is a symbol of ownership, dominance, or at minimum, a symbol of total alignment of principles. We all remember the moon landing, Iwo Jima, and the World Trade Center. Would we raise an Islamic flag over a Catholic school? The answer is obviously no. Yet we raise the Progress Pride flag, which is equally at odds with our faith. How is this working hand in hand with parents of the church? How can you portray yourself as furthering Catholic education when woke ideologies trump Catholicism and Catholic teachings? When religion teachers question in class whether a transgender man could become Pope, is this part of your Catholic instruction? I frequently hear that because Catholic Separate School Board receives public funding, that they are restricted in teaching fundamental Catholic doctrine. This is categorically false. The Scott Act of 1863 states that this right is constitutionally protected under Section 93 of the Constitution Act. Catholic schools are legally required to teach Catholic foundational doctrine and are constitutionally protected in doing so. I'm asking the silent majority to end their silence. As a parent, it is your number one duty to look out for and instruct your children. Those of us who have placed our children in Catholic institutions expect Catholicism to be taught. We are fed up with Catholic institutions either apologizing for or outright defying the teachings of our Catholic faith. Excuse me. I'm asking the hierarchy of the church to fulfill their duty to the flock by actively engaging and teaching the catechism and addressing the heretical and anti-Catholic teaching that is being imposed upon our children in the Canadian Catholic school system. Bishops and priests have a duty to speak the truth, specifically when it is difficult to do so. The Catholic School Board must follow your lead, and you must show fervor in our beliefs. These issues are not open to debate in Catholicism. Judas was no more correct in betraying Jesus for 30 pieces of silver than you are betraying him to maintain a $9.5 to $10 billion school system that objectively defies his word and his rules. To the school board and teachers, immediately adopt the one flag rule and end the divisive policy of elevating sexuality as a person's defining characteristic. One flag represents us all, and that is the Canadian flag. When personal feelings and ideology conflict with the Catholic doctrine, fulfill your professional duty. Treat Catholic teaching with dignity and respect, and have the humility to recognize that 2,000 years of Catholic teaching cannot simply be dismissed because you do not agree with them. Issues of disagreement with Catholic theology are solely the responsibility of the church and the parents. The school has no role in this. I know any response I get from this letter will likely be Jesus loves all his creation, or only God can judge. And both of these statements are absolutely true. Jesus loves us and he will forgive, but forgiveness requires repentance. As proven with Mary Magdalene when he said, go and sin no more. When we celebrate lifestyles and behavior that are contrary to the words of Jesus Christ, we are more like the sellers in the temple that Jesus drove out with a whip. In conclusion to this letter, I ask the clergy to lead us, your faithful, in these difficult times. A Catholic conscience is something to be proud of, not that we are any better than others, but more aware of our shortcomings and how to correct them. Help us correct the blatantly false instruction that our children are currently receiving under so-called Catholic schools. Parents, take your responsibility seriously. Do not shy away from your beliefs. Your children are counting on you. If we expect to make a change, then we must be unapologetic and undeterred by those who seek to undermine our God-given parental rights. I'm asking that every parent contact their school board and demand this ends now. There is no advantage to Catholic education if it not only refuses to teach our beliefs, but openly and flagrantly subverts them. And that's the end.
Well, let's go back to the core subject of this interview. First of all, like I told you, thanks a lot, first of all, for reading it, because it's a long letter, but so well written that it flows very, very well, very, very slowly, but it is a firm letter. I honestly, I would not like to be in the shoes of the person who will have to answer. But when I see this type of uh, of letter, and it's a respectful letter. Uh, when I read it, I told myself, this man knows how to write. And you said, I'm not a writer, blah, blah, blah. But your letter is honest, direct, faithful, and fearless. Maybe this is what struck me the most. You're not afraid. You're convinced, but respectful. I recognize your determination. And that's why I say faithful and fearless. So my next question is, could you describe the actual current situation with regard to the traditional education of children, because it brought you to write this letter?
Well, I'll tell you, it's not as easy as it seemed because, quite honestly, I probably went through about 2 scrapbooks worth of paper. I do it the old school way, write it by hand. No, that doesn't work. Scrap it and do it again. So it might have seemed okay, but it took a lot of drafts to do that. So the current situation in the school board, where do you start? If you look at the high school kids coming out, the vast majority of them are functionally illiterate. I mean, you only have to go to a fast food restaurant or something and try to even up change to know that our education system is failing us. It's apparent everywhere. Woke ideology and this type of nonsense has permeated almost every school. This is far more important than the actual scholastic, abilities of our children to the school boards and the teachers that are currently in place. I keep hearing, Catholic schools are still better. Okay, and they may be marginally so, but for how long? And that's why, I want to correct this now. Because if they're marginally better now, what's it going to be like in 2 to 3 years? Quite honestly, like I said, I'm 51 years old. I would say in grade 4, I could read significantly better than the high school graduates today. So it's a very sad situation. Now, in fairness, I was homeschooled. So my dad drilled quite a bit on the reading and the math, but still, if somebody at 9 years old can do it and an 18-year-old is, graduating and functionally illiterate, I think that tells you all you need to know about our school system right now.
So you are aware of this situation since a couple of years. You maybe you saw it, but you were not maybe really conscious about it. What was the trigger?
The trigger was, this is my son's first year in high school. So, the elementary school here, there were a couple of issues. They weren't so severe. But this year when he went to high school, the pride flag's being flown. They got a pride mural. They're giving their prom dresses from last year to a group called Out Loud North Bay. They're not giving it to the Salvation Army or to St. Vincent de Paul, a Catholic institution. No, they're giving the prom dresses from last year that were donated to Out Loud North Bay. This ideology is so rampant, it's ridiculous. And this is supposed to be a Catholic institution.
This is what surprised me, because you could expect in public education, if it is not a Catholic church, you would say, okay, they will try to teach inclusive value, but in a Catholic church, this is, even if it is a public institution, they have to teach Catholic religion or Catholic traditional value.
I think you'll find it's quite the opposite when it comes down to it. I mentioned in the letter when my son talked about abortion, he was just told, sit down, be quiet, you're disruptive, because this is not going to be talked about. If you take it, any of them, if you're not using the right pronoun, if you say homosexuality is wrong, these are all things, and that's what frustrates me, and that's what made me write this letter, because we all know these things to be true. There is nothing that I'm saying that isn't 100% in the Catechism of the Catholic Church, and we're supposed to be following that doctrine. Yet everyone just turns a blind eye, and it's like, Oh, we don't know.
Well, yes, I think is it the Canadian behavior, turning a blind eye on what is happening actually in Canada? You are aware of this. How do they react? How do teachers react? Not necessarily toward your letter, but your son arrives and talking about abortion, because abortion is practically taboo in Canada. We cannot talk about it.
Yeah.
So how do they react? You had the meeting with those teacher, and I suppose, and
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty simple. I told her, because in the overall context of it, it was a political discussion, and he had brought up that's why he preferred one candidate over another, the abortion issue. Abortion's killing babies. But I said, first of all, why are you talking about your political preferences to our children? And if my son has a personal, if he believes this candidate is preferable, where do you think that comes from? That comes from me, as it should. That comes from the parents.
comes from the parents. Yes,
Why do
the
you
first
think
the first duty. Yes.
exactly? Why do you think you have the right in your classroom to tell him to be quiet based on a political opinion that I've given him? And why do you think he needs to debate as a 12-year-old with you? Like, if you and I want to debate, we could sit here all day. But I don't think my 12-year-old needs to be scolded or debated. Politics as such, clearly picking a winner or loser, should be kept out of the classroom. That's the parents. When it came down to the abortion issue, she just, well, you can't speak like that in my classroom. No, I will never tolerate that in my classroom. Well, I said, look, you're lucky it was my son, because I probably would have called it something much worse.
But
And
one thing, you talk about abortion, but they have a curriculum to teach. They have a curriculum to teach. They go outside of this curriculum
100%.
all the time because, like you said, they're imposing some ideology that are not in the curriculum.
Well, like I said, for instance, in high school, the religion teacher was debating over, who could be pope. And one of the girls asked the question, could a woman be pope? And well, no. Unfortunately, at this point, no, there's no provision for that. And of course, my son is sitting in the classroom. And then someone, well, what about a transgender man? And he's like, well, that's an interesting question. I'm not sure. And I mean, it's just foolishness. This is supposed to be a religion instructor in a Catholic school. And of course, the truth is, I don't know if the guy's ever attended a Catholic church in his life. But I'm sorry, if you're going to be in a position of teaching children, you should at least have basic knowledge of the subject.
The school board, when they hire those teachers, they need, they have some requirement. When you submit your resume as a teacher in either a primary school or a high school, they must have requirement that will ask the person who wants to apply for the job to know basic values or basic concept of Catholicism.
You would think,
There-
but
as a parent, do you have access to this type of process, hiring process, or
I could
is it?
probably get it. It's not something that I've looked into.
Mm,
I do know from speaking with the priest that it is a requirement that, if you're going to teach in a Catholic school, that a priest writes a letter for you. So generally what's been happening, and he told me this to my face, is that they would attend one mass. And he would say, I've seen them here, they're a parishioner, and sign their letter for them. And
mhm.
then they never see them again. So,
Because when I see this, I tell myself, okay, it's a public Catholic school, but is it only a facade?
it's just a facade. I mean, the
Are
truth
they
is,
are they all like this?
to the best of my knowledge, some are better than others. But to the best of my knowledge, you won't find one that will stand up for the teachings of the church. Not, in the public system. There are private Catholic schools that are privately funded and privately paid for, and those are completely different.
Well, this is why when you refer to Judas and the 30 piece of silver and
Exactly.
11, I think $11 billion,
Yeah.
don't take the money and pretend that you're doing something that you're not doing.
But what surprises me is I don't think the money goes to the church. It's only to fund the school system. It's just kind of, to keep feeding this industry. I don't think a penny goes to the church. That's what I've seen, anyways, from my investigation.
Mm.
So there's really no incentive to protect it. But what we've seen all along is cowardice. I'm going to use that word because
Ah,
nobody wants to step up and be the one to stick their neck out. I've spoken to lots of priests. I have two that are willing to say, you're 100% right, and I'll back you. The rest are, well, I don't think I'll have time. That's kind of that's a thorny issue. I don't really want to get involved. I don't know what the bishop has to say, etc. So,
political correctness is
you
a
got it.
Canadian value, unfortunately. So I think you answered partially my question, but what do the ecclesiastic authority, priest, bishop, they think about this, especially in your region? I think
Well,
you were mentioning like last week one priest in particular.
yes. I mean, in my region, I'm very lucky. Um, both the priests here are fantastic, and the one in particular, he's not allowed in the school. He's not allowed to teach in the school
Mm.
because he had the audacity to say that he believes the Catholic faith to be above all others. Now, you would think that, logically speaking, that would be pretty self explanatory if you're a Catholic priest. I mean, I'm sure Muslims think that their religion is above all others. I'm sure, you know, Hindus think the same
Hindus.
thing. I mean, what would be the advantage of participating in a religion if another one's better? Maybe it's just the way I look at things, but I would say, well, I'm going to go look for the right one. So to me, if you're participating in it, you've chosen it, you've chosen to go through the priesthood. That's a pretty obvious statement, in my opinion. I don't think that's controversial at all. But in our system, that's a statement that's not allowed.
Well, in your letter, you mentioned the fact that they will praise Islam, they will praise Hinduism, but they never refer to Christianity or Catholicism. And let's not be naive. We know that they are attacking Christianity. We know that they want to undermine uh, Christianity. I think they know that this religion has very high moral standard, and maybe they are afraid of it. Uh, I have you met other parents who were facing the same situation? Did you maybe not before, but since you wrote the letter and you had many
Yes.
space, so I think you're becoming a public figure. So maybe people are reaching to you. Do you have people who are discussing this with you?
Yes. And the funny thing is, I knew them beforehand. They attend our church. Wonderful couple, large family. And actually, my son goes to a lot of events with their children. But yeah, I mean, if you want, I could read you a piece of the letter that they sent, and it's significantly more shocking than my experiences.
Well, go ahead
Well,
because
I'm gonna throw
this
my
is
glasses
yes. Go ahead. This is we're here for that.
and just got to get to the right point here. All right, I'll just start here. And believe it or not, this couple actually helped edit my original copy, so a lot of this would be the same. So I worked with them. Um, While our children have been students at Schollard, they have brought home reports of teachers being so ignorant of Catholic teaching and lacking of respect for the Catholic faith and God that they have brought their coffees into Mass and proceeded to chit chat throughout the liturgy. Another teacher instructed my son, "You guys spitting bullets and not caring where they land have no right to tell women what they can and cannot choose." The content of this was an extremely derogatory lecture regarding the Show the Truth, a pro-life initiative. It was a protest in front of the school. Teacher did not take this valuable educational opportunity to teach his students on what abortion is and that it does kill a baby. He did not say in any aspect that a baby in the womb is a person and all life is precious. He did not teach them about chastity, accountability, and self control. He did not say how even though you may find these images disturbing, they are the reality of what's taking place. And even if you disagree with the approach, we are called to treat every person with respect. He did not say that even if we disagree with someone, that it is healthy to have respectful dialogue and to try and understand where the other person is coming from. Instead, he propagated an ignorant and angry woke diatribe with complete bias and no respect. My daughter's religion teacher was teaching grossly incorrect teachings on the Catholic Church, which my daughter repeatedly had to correct in class. In 2019-2020, my daughter and I signed up to participate in the mission to Costa Rica with the Duke of Edinburgh. When we were told that as one of the fundraisers, we would be assisting with a drag show. We indicated that due to our Catholic beliefs, we could not take part in such an event. My daughter brought the issue to the school administration, and our concerns were dismissed. She and I, therefore, were forced to withdraw from participation. The RISE program at Schollard has morphed from an initiative with good intentions into a disordered and festering pool that has propagated a militant anti-Catholic ideology in the sheep's clothing of acceptance. All of my children have been repeatedly bullied or demeaned at various points in various years and by various means by members of RISE due to their Catholic beliefs and morals. My son in grade 9 was given an assignment where he was tasked with writing a response to the scenario that his friend has just announced he is transgender and how he can positively affirm his friend's choice. Where are we here? My son was very upset and scared as he felt that if he wrote in accordance with his beliefs, he would receive a 0 on the assignment. I encouraged him to write a response in accordance with his beliefs, and so he turned in the assignment and messaged the teacher stating that as a Catholic, he could not affirm sin, but in this situation, he would try to care for and seek the good of his friend. Teacher responded with, "Okay, that's fine, but I would encourage you to ask yourself, what would Jesus do?" My daughter was discouraged by administration from facilitating and organizing pro-life activities at the school. Several of the media class video presentations in the Insights and Sounds of 2021 were extremely upsetting based on the suggestive and inappropriate content. As a parent, I was appalled. In the Legally Blonde production in 2024, 2 boys were allowed to kiss. My daughter and her friend were brutally bullied and shunned in 2022 because they chose to stand with the Show the Truth protest in front of the school. These 2 girls received death threats and threats of harm. My daughter was told she better watch out. We're going to get you in the bathroom. No teacher or administrator dealt with the bullying being propagated on my daughter. And then she goes into this year, all the remaining prom desk donations were donated to Out Loud North Bay. So that's another couple that I know personally, and that's what they've dealt with their children. So we're not talking about just not Catholic. We're talking
Yes, you're right. You're right. And first of all, maybe your action will open eyes for some people because could it create a movement? I think there's a lot of people who are in this situation, and it seems that they are afraid to speak.
Well, I mean, it seems to be happening anyways. They're fighting it hard, but if you look around, like I said, the Dufferin Peel board has gone with the one flag only because it is divisive. And it was actually the Ontario English Catholic Teachers Association that asked them, what is it? Anyways, the head of the schooling, Calandra, to enforce that they fly the pride flag. And he came out, I believe it was just last week, and said that no, that he can't because it's a denominational school and that's a denominational issue. And under the Constitution, he cannot force them to fly that flag. Alberta, just in the last 2 months, only fly one flag. So the tide is turning. The problem is they're fighting it tooth and nail and trying to hold on to everything they have. And they're kind of getting more disgusting as they go.
Well, I think disgusting and aggressive because when you are, when you're wrong, you try to defend something that you cannot defend. And why I talk about a movement with the Freedom Convoy, what we saw was a movement, and some people, a lot of Canadian, uh, maybe did not wake up, but they started to feel that something was wrong. You Are you expecting a positive response for the from the district,
I have
or
no.
any, I don't know, or any response at all?
Oh, I have a meeting with them actually Friday morning. So that's with the
Yes.
top three: the CEO, the superintendent, and the chaplain of the board. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. Um, I really don't know what to expect. I
Mm.
know I already had a conversation with the chaplain, and he didn't have a word to say to me. He just listened to what I had to say, and when I kind of asked him for input, like, tell me if I'm wrong, he said, "I heard you, and that's enough for this conversation."
And
So at
that's
least
it.
on Friday, he's going to have to sit in front of me for an hour. So we'll see. He's going to have to prove his paycheck. And what's funny is he's going to have to somehow try and find a Catholic way of framing this, which would be
Mhm.
quite interesting.
Well, let me reframe my question. Are you expecting a written answer, official answer from them?
No, no, I've got a
No.
meeting with them. So I think that's, to the best of my knowledge, that's as far as
Yes.
they'll go. And what do I expect out of the meeting? I think they'll, well, we heard you, and that's it. But I do intend to keep the pressure up. Let's face it, it's the end of June. School's out in a couple of weeks. I think the timing is always suspect, right? Put it off for a week.
Yes.
Now we've got 1 week left of school, and by the time June rolls around next time, they'll have forgotten about it, right? That's what I think their plan is.
I think you're right. It's a political gesture. They always wait before vacation to pass a controversy bill, or just so people will forget during summer vacation.
Liberal
Yes,
government in the
this.
Catholic school.
Yes, you mentioned it earlier. You know, you were talking about this priest that was banned from school, not banned, but could not preach
Yeah.
the gospel. Uh, can you describe, because we had this discussion, and I think it was on One Space. You were talking about the origin of the Catholic school in Canada. Can you describe the origin of it? Was it to control or manage the French Canadian minority?
That was my understanding of it. Is that was a concession from the English to manage the Quebec, the French minority, and to keep them in line because there was a lot of talk at the time that they were getting offers from the U.S.
So, how did this affect Catholicism in the English part of Canada? This is it the same rule? Are they applying the same rule?
Well, it varies by province, right? So in Ontario, we have a French board and an English board. We have Catholic in both.
Okay.
I believe Newfoundland no longer has it, but I believe the rest of the country still does have a separate and a public school board.
But so you have this. Do they have this privilege, quote unquote,
The privilege
about
of
about the obligation to teach Catholic
oh,
value?
that's
But we
written
go
right.
back to the because we
Yeah.
go back to the what I was asking. The facade. Is it only a
Yes.
facade, or?
So they have actually the duty is how it's written in the legislation. If I'm not correct, if I'm not mistaken, they have the duty to teach Catholic teachings, but they don't. So I
So
mean, after talking to priests, they'll claim they have as much as 4 days a week of religious instruction, and then when the priest actually questions them on it, well, we did have one about 4 or 5 months ago.
okay.
So yeah, that's how
They
it's going.
but okay. Do you have legal recourse toward this? Would you have some? Is it
I don't
possible?
believe
With
so.
the Charter of Right, or I don't know, to
Well,
force them into complying.
the only group that I think could force them, and that was part of my letter, would be the hierarchy in the church, because they
Okay,
would have the ultimate say.
so they would have the authority to, let's say, to strongly recommend
Yes.
to, if I use a diplomatic.
Now there was, I believe it was in 2012, the Accepting Schools Act came in, and you see it's quite disturbing because that forces, so far, anyways, even Catholic schools to have like straight gay alliances, to put these clubs in their schools if one person asks for it. Now, the reason I say in air quotes is because, I'm going to say it again, cowardice. It was never challenged. Now, if you use an AI search, it's because they couldn't win it. Well, no, I don't think that at all. Because if it was just confirmed a week ago that they can't force them to fly a pride flag because it's a denominational issue,
Mhm.
the same would absolutely apply to a gay straight alliance or something that is against the foundational principles of the religion. So I highly disagree with that assessment. But again, that has to be challenged. Somebody actually has to make the move and challenge that. And I'm afraid it's not going to be you or I. I believe it has to come from the church.
It has come, yes, you're right, from the official authority. And you refer to the flag. I remember I was always a little bit ambivalent between the Quebec flag and the Canadian flag. But in 2022, when I saw the Freedom Convoy, for the first time in my life, I felt that that was my flag. And
100%.
I not to undermine the Quebec flag or the French Canadian history. It's
Yep.
not that, but I said to myself, it's the first time I feel Canadian. So the purpose of a flag is very important. I have a question about proselytism. Have you noticed any act of proselytism like recruiting followers, trying to impose ideas by teacher, promoting LGBT or woke ideology to children or your children?
So
Uh,
not specific. Oh, no, I shouldn't say that. Now that I say that, um, my son, his report card in the first term referred to him as they and their. His
yes,
pronoun.
okay.
So to me, that's inserting your ideology and actually putting it into a report card. So I actually did write quite a terse letter to the teacher and told her that it's a legal document. You didn't ask him. You didn't ask his parents. You chose this on your own, and you've absolutely misgendered my son using, their rules against them.
Yes, exactly. Yes, you're right. You're right.
So she did apologize, saying that was she chose them because they were gender neutral pronouns. And I'm like, no, they're not. That's the pronouns you use to describe a non-binary. My son is not non-binary. He's a male. You could have chosen just to use his name if you were afraid of offending. But you went one step further and you chose pronouns. So please don't tell me that was just trying not to offend. Because easy way not to offend, two of the other teachers had already done it on the same report card and just used his first name. William does this. William has excelled. William needs work. Only the name. So no, it was much more than that. And that's a perfect example where they will insert their ideology. I haven't heard anything about them actually doing it in the classroom per se. I mean, we all know that if you are one of that group, you're going to be celebrated and you're going to be protected above anyone else. That's not even a question. Nobody can, refer to you by the wrong pronouns or disagree with you that it's not a major incident. So, in essence, what they're doing is they're making a protected class, a victim class, and everyone else basically has to kowtow to that group.
So your son, how old is he? Is he in the high school now?
Yeah, he's 14. It's his first year of high school.
So how does he react to this, or how do, in general, how do your children react to this type of? I'm not saying controversy, but are they comfortable in their school?
Well, my son's very comfortable. He's got a very good friend group. And that was here beforehand. And a lot of them are very much involved in the church. So I'm very supportive of his friend group and who he hangs out with. He's very quick to tell me what happens at school. Like, for instance, 2 days ago, for whatever reason, supposed to be entertainment, all the guys dressed up in skirts and did basically a drag show. With baseballs in for breasts. I mean, I get that doesn't necessarily have to be, transgender, but with everything else that's going on, it's just another reason you just shake your head. It's like, what?
Considering the actual context, yes, it
Yeah.
is maybe it's not suited. Your the school of your children, they've raised the rainbow flag, and you mentioned it in your letter instead of the Canadian or Ontario flag. Can you tell us more about the importance of a flag? I think you described it in your letter, but what's the symbol behind?
Well, so I'll correct you there. They still have the Canadian flag flying. They've flown this second flag. What's the importance of it? Well, why do we raise a flag? If you look back at historical examples, it's ownership, dominance, or basically complete alignment. When we put it on the moon, and I'm not going to get into the debate over whether we landed.
No. We will not go there. We will not go there. It's not important.
It's a good debate, but
it's
when we put it on the moon,
thing.
that's saying we were here. We're claiming this is our territory. In Iwo Jima, it was a battle. World Trade Center, you go through all of these things. You don't just put a flag up for something that is.
It's a symbol. It's a symbol.
100%, it's a symbol, but it's a symbol. It's more than just a symbol when you're placing it over top of your building.
Higher, yes.
Exactly.
The hierarchy of flag is important.
So I mean, it's basically, I honestly see it as a symbol of dominance, and I'm not going to back down from that. I mean, that's how it's being used. It's being used like a cudgel, used like a club, to bash everyone into submission. I mean, let's be honest. It may not be the right thing to say, but it's the truthful thing to say. And anyone that doesn't agree with it is shut up quickly. So, in my opinion, we got to stop being quiet. And it's up to the parents. It shouldn't be our children fighting these battles. The parents have to open their mouths. We know it's a silent majority. We got to stop being silent. And I mean, I don't know if you've heard me say it in spaces. My dad was a great man. I love my father. And he always had a saying, if not you, then who? And that always stuck with me. Because he meant, if you're waiting for someone else to do it, that person's never going to show up. If it's right and it needs to be done, then you need to do it. Don't worry about, whether you have a PhD. Don't worry about, anything. Do what's right and let the chips fall where they may. And that's just something that I've kind of taken heart, because the truth is, you will find that there's a lot of people with degrees that are really not that smart.
Well, one thing that I've noticed, in a time, an era of conflict or instability, whether political or social instability, we're always searching for leaders. People who will stand up. I think your father was right. People who will stand up, speak. And it does not necessarily come from somebody who's extraordinary with diploma and everything. Somebody has to do it. Let's say we have to do the job. Who can do it? And I think you're right. And maybe your actual action will inspire people, not necessarily to become leader or heroes, but at least to speak up.
Exactly.
I think it is maybe the most important thing. If you want, Joe, I have some comments.
Sure.
We can display some comments, and we will see. I think there's some good questions. So Johnny Tight Lips is, hey, I think you know them. Your fan club is in the comment now. They're all from the space of Two Chicks in Politics or Sassy, and so hey, Joe, where were you going with that flag in your hand?
Well, hopefully far away from the school.
Well, I think you answered correctly. The flag is a symbol, and not necessarily a symbol of dominance, but a symbol of to affirm your identity. I think, victory too. So,
And I'd like to
so
say, hey, Johnny, because he really helped me out a lot getting that stuff out.
good, good. Sue Calendar says, "Good evening, gentlemen. Good evening to you,
Good evening,
also,
Sue.
Sue." Another of your fan, I think. Hi, Joe and Andre, Sassy and Rye, dog listening in. So
Well, hello to
I'm
both of you.
happy. I'm happy because I think they know you. You've
Yes, they do.
been there. You've been on many spaces, so they understand the value of your action.
We actually met
We
a
have
little while back.
good, good. Iron work is not for the faint of heart. Neither is fighting this insanity. Utmost respect to you, sir. So for
Well, thank
Johnny,
you again, Johnny.
let's see. Let's see. There's a lot of comment here, Mister Richard. Richard, do much respect for both you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for standing up for our children. Let's see after that. It's going. Wait, okay. This is one of my friend. I will not say his name, but again, if you are going to have a guest on, I have the decency to put a
Well, I
tie.
forgot my tie too, so
I
we're
will.
even.
I will follow. I will follow your advice, GC Denton. We have again Johnny Tightlips. Canada has decided that the right not to be offended trumps your right to the truth. This has crept into the Catholic school system because of its public funding. How do you respond to this?
Well, I'm sure that's part of it, but I'm going to go back to cowardice for people not standing up because it is in the law. They have the right to do it. They just have to stand up for those rights. That's walking away from something that you have constitutionally protected without even a fight. I don't know. I don't know what else to call it. Let's put it that way.
Yes. So again, Johnny Tightlips is very active. It is okay. Now it is irrelevant what true the Catholic Church believes to the school system because it is, if it offends the reality, is to be censored. What about censorship? Will you be censored?
What do you mean censored in which way?
Suppress? Because first of all, Friday you will meet the school board. So you think you consider this censorship if, for example, they don't answer, or what would be
I
the next
wouldn't
step?
consider it censorship, and I'm a pretty hard person to censor, to be honest. It's I guess censorship in a way where they're not going to publicly respond. And the truth is, I'm not honestly worried about a public response. I just want the right response. I want them stop the division. If you want to talk about inclusivity, let's talk your language. There's only one flag that's inclusive. There's only one flag that includes all of us. That's the
Yes.
Canadian flag. I'm sorry. It's not the rainbow flag. That's an exclusive flag. That's the same thing as if I were to fly my Union flag above a building. Well, that
Mhm.
represents me. That doesn't represent anyone else. That's an exclusive flag.
People have to recognize themselves in the flag and something that will
Exactly.
unite them effectively. Richard Du says we need more parents. I suppose we need more parents like you. And I have a question here from GC Denton, our friend GC. I have a theory that the secular cities have taken on a larger portion of the GDP than the more God-fearing rural areas. Do you agree with this, or do you think there is another cause of this?
Um, I don't know enough about that. I will tell you, I'm in a fairly rural area,
Hmm.
but it's still here. Now, in the small elementary school here, not so much. But as soon as you get into the high school, absolutely. I think we're dealing with people that are idealized. Like this stuff is pushed. It's what they want. Like it's not even a matter of, following government initiative. They're showing so much zeal. They're giving dresses away out loud. Like I'm sorry, this is outside of just following the dictates that they have to. They want to do this. And the way I see it, they want something very akin to a public school, but they want to still be able to call it Catholic.
I have actually a friend who is in Yukon. He's in the White Horse,
right?
and he said to me, he said, I he lives in Ontario, and he
Okay.
went to to White Horse for a couple of weeks to meet a person. They're doing a documentary, and he said, I arrived there. I thought I would escape the pride paranoia. And he arrived there, and he says, I saw a pride flag over a church, not a church, a school. And he was very shocked to see this. It is everywhere. It is everywhere. So we are, I would say, are we under attack?
Oh, we're 100% under attack. And I mean, if you care, then any time you open your mouth, you're going to be shot down. You're going to be called names. You're going to be vilified. And that's where I say you can't worry about this stuff anymore. I mean, you and I, we spend a lot of time on X, on Spaces. So we're kind of used to being called every name in the book. I really couldn't care less what somebody calls me. But to other people, it's very effective. If you're not used to hearing that, if you're called racist, homophobe, misogynist, any one of those labels, it tends to really
Language,
shut
yes.
people up. And for me, no. And I think that's what people have to learn. You got to develop a thicker skin. You can't worry about a label. You know you're right. Carry on. Because the only reason that they're throwing those labels is because they can't answer your questions. And that's what you have to remember. In debate class, anyone that starts name calling has lost a debate. Well, they've lost the debate, but they're still trying to maintain your silence. Somewhat effectively, I'm sorry to say.
Do they in the school of your children? Do they have what they call safe space, where people? I'm curious because in university they're not starting. They have some in high school. Do they have this? In
Not that I know of. Now, that being said, I went to pick up my son a couple of weeks ago, and there's a girl coming out of the school, I don't know, 16, 17 years old, holding 2 teddy bears, and she's got a whole belt of teddy bears around her waist. It's like, no wonder we have a generation that can't, deal with anything.
deal with
You got
anything?
16, 17-year-old girls who are still going with the teddy bear to school.
They
So,
are afraid.
well, yes, but we're enshrining this, and that's the problem. We're telling them
Yes.
that's okay. We're not saying, hey, wait a second here. Sorry, I don't know what you learned at home, but you can't take teddy bears to school.
Is it because parents are overprotecting their children?
To the extreme. Yes, I mean, it was a parent that was picking that child up.
I'm pretty sure that I'm 66, you're 51. I'm pretty sure that we were not overprotected, you and me.
No.
But and not with your children, for example, giving them some freedom to enjoy, to have to run like a boy outside. That doesn't mean that you don't protect them. But today, you look at that's why I was referring to safe space.
Yeah, no, I think we have to, I mean, maybe not as much as we had, because we had a great deal of freedom in our day. I don't know if that's quite possible today, but
Mhm.
let your children play. Let them make mistakes. Let them get hurt. Don't let them get seriously hurt, but let them fall and scrape their knees. Let them take, a fastball to the shins. Play sports. Get dirty. Because if you look at
Re-
what we're raising, man, it can't go on.
Well, it's real life. First of all, it's real. I understand a lot of the maybe the last 2 3 generation they live in a virtual reality, but you go outside, you have to face real life. One
Yeah.
day you cannot live all your life in virtual reality.
And I guess the biggest thing we'd have to say is don't let the computer, the television, or the iPad be the babysitter. Sometime monitored, sure. Rest of the time, outside. That's what I try to do with my children.
So your children, for example, in high school, by all children today, they have computer, they have a smartphone, but do they have a traditional way of learning at school, or they use, I don't know, they use tablet? Are they always?
I think it's still traditional because
Yes.
for my son, no, he has a computer, right? He's in high school. But
Well,
my
it's not
daughters are in grade 4 and grade 2. So no, they're still traditional at this point.
because you, in a sense, you need a certain. Well, okay, let's say it's a modern world, but also you need time to study. It's time to concentrate and to be not to be disturbed by the over reach of technology.
100%. And I mean, what's best to refocus for a child? They go out and run some energy off.
Exactly, and
Instead of,
they have a lot of it, so they have to spend it
and
in other
especially
way.
now that we have this nice weather.
Yes, there's another comment here from Richard. Joe is on the right path. He will give others the courage and confidence to speak out. Much love to you, my friend. Lots of love from Sassy. So you know them,
Yes, I
they
do.
know you, and I think honestly, the fact that you stood up, and first of all, you stood up for your children, and you will be. I think you will be. You will inspire people. You will inspire people, and
I hope
maybe
so.
the friendly conversation that we have today. That's the purpose of us. Try to reach people. Try to tell them, well, don't be afraid to speak. Don't be afraid to defend your children. Uh, Express your value and your faith too.
Exactly. We've become so embarrassed. We apologize for everything. I mean, and nobody else does. That's a problem. You know, whether it's religion or politics or anything else, we've got to stop, you know, hedging our bets or being afraid of how somebody's going to take it. Tell them the truth. Give them your honest opinion. Why do you care whether some, random person you met is going to be your best friend? That's the truth. If you strongly disagree, tell them you strongly disagree. You don't have to be ignorant. You don't have to scream and yell or swear. But say, listen, no, I absolutely disagree with that, and this is why. I don't know why people think that, disagreement always has to be hateful, because it doesn't. I know it's always taken as hate for those that can't answer the disagreement, but you can't be responsible for people's reactions. You can only be honest and speak up.
Do you think it is a Canadian value? I'm French Canadian from Quebec. You're from Ontario. You were born in Ontario.
Yes,
So we're neighbors, neighbors
for
in a
sure.
sense that, and I always thought that French are more impulsive, English Canadian are more pragmatic, or is it? And they say Canadian people are kind. Maybe we should not confuse kindness with like you said, cowardice. I don't
Exactly.
know.
Yes. Kindness ends when somebody's taking advantage of you. And it should certainly end when somebody is, putting their thoughts into your children's head. That is only the right of the parents. And what's really funny is, in some of these, and I'm going to paraphrase somebody that I don't really like, but even a broken clock can be right twice a day. Why do people who either by nature or by choice, they're out of the gene pool, why do they think they have the right to the minds of our children? They
They
can't
want to
have
impose.
children of their own.
They want to impose their will on others, and like you mentioned, if you want to, first of all, if you want to have a family, you have to act accordingly to nature. It's not
Exactly.
something you cannot reinvent nature. I think reality sometimes is harsh,
Hmm.
but I would prefer to live in reality, even if it is hard sometimes, because also reality can be beautiful
Oh, absolutely.
in a sense.
And I mean, there's lessons to be learned from the hard parts too, right? I mean, we're all part of our experiences. And
Yes,
there's
and you
nobody
said
that hasn't had bad experiences.
yes, and you said something in your letter. We're all children of God. So if we recognize something that is greater than us, we can always unite. Maybe that's the message that we can tell to people. We're arriving at the end of the conversation. Joe, what message of hope can you offer to those who are listening to us, and especially about faith in Catholicism? What would be the message for Canadian Father?
For faith in Catholicism,
Yes.
we are seeing a rise. Quite honestly, I think not specifically Catholicism related, but Charlie Kirk, I think, made a lot of people reassess and hurt a lot of people.
Mm.
I know more people that are now close to their faith that wanted nothing to do with it before Charlie Kirk. And like myself, I didn't know that I loved Charlie Kirk as much as I did until he was killed. They faced the same thing. There's at least 5 different people that I know that were not attending church whatsoever are now in church and actively a part of it. So things are changing. I think part of that is because people see the struggle, see what's going on in the world, and let's face it, we need to appeal to something more than we've got. That's for sure. So they're getting back to their roots. They're getting back to the church. Quite honestly, if you want to talk about words of encouragement, well, look at what's been going on with the flag issue.
Mm.
3 or 4 years ago, nobody was saying a word about it. Now there's many people that are opening their mouths, and school boards are shutting it down. I believe from Ottawa, Peel, all of Alberta, it is happening. We are slowly starting to gain momentum. And I think as parents, if you want to get rid of this, this is the time. Open your mouth. Call your school board. Write a letter. Talk to them in person. Go into the school. Whatever you have to do. Don't let them deny that we exist.
Okay,
So
Joe, next week we do an episode, you and me, in French. So you have 1 week to learn French.
Oh,
So
wow.
we can try we can try to reach French Canadian or Quebecers.
Yeah.
I hope, well, they know me, some people they speak English, but I hope that we can influence people because it's not the language barrier, it's the idea, the value, faith, and I see that I see a difference. Maybe I'm wrong. I see a difference between Ontario and Quebec and the rest of Canada. I see a certain awakening in the English part of Canada. I don't know why in Quebec it is so slow.
Right. See, I'm
It
not in Quebec,
seems,
so I don't know.
yes, and that's why well, it's quite ironic because I'm French Canadian and practically all my interviews are in English. So I always make jokes about this, but anyway, Joe.
Yeah, I'd be a lot better off doing it in Spanish than
Well,
French. I know my wife is Spanish, so. But yeah, I
but
don't know enough of either. That's for sure.
yes, but language barrier is not a reason not to exchange with other people. I know sometimes it is difficult, but we have to be able to break this barrier, to break this I would say this wall of misunderstanding. So
For sure.
yes. So thank you, Joe, for accepting my invitation. I will stay in the room. We can have a small talk after the podcast. And I dare to believe that your courage will inspire many fathers, so they can set an example of determination about their faith and the education of their children. So, Joe, thanks a lot.
Well, thank you for having me, and you've been a lot of help, actually. Just getting the word
Well,
out.
we're all in this together.
Thank you.
Good. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for watching this interview. Please feel free to share it so the action of Mr. Joe McDonald will be supported by other courageous Canadian and courageous father. And until the next episode of the Philosophy of Information, I wish you a wonderful evening.